But I think Ken Paxton was on his way to victory anyway. I think that at least in the South, in Texas and in Louisiana, states like that, we're just sick and tired of the establishment Republicans who too often go along to get along, who really don't take risks, who really don't show courage when it comes to conservatism.
You see, I think you're onto something there, and again, the margins of the victories. I think that's really where the story is. Not that they want, not that these lawmakers lost their seats, but by how much. I mean, these are incumbent senators. This is something very unusual. I mean, you've been in politics for a long time. It's hard to unseat, especially sitting United States senators.
Yes, and of course, Senator Cassidy was in a three-way race with myself and Julia Letlow, and we eliminated him. And of course, Julia Letlow and myself are the two remaining who are going to the runoff, which is really an interesting parallel to what happened in Texas last night, because unlike Paxton and Cornyn, the situation is reversed. Julia Letlow has the endorsement of President Trump. And there's a reason why that occurred that I'll be happy to explain. But I'm actually the Ken Paxton in this race. I'm the one who has the consistent conservative voting record, a Freedom Caucus founder in the House of Representatives. I have fought those battles such as Ken has fought, particularly in terms of some of the issues relative to religion and other things, religious liberty, and all the cultural things that we've been battling for years.
I want to get to the endorsement first, but I think we need to set the stage for why it's a little troubling what happened here. So you say that you are the true MAGA Republican, and I see that on your campaign imaging. What is it about Julia Letlow that does not make her a MAGA Republican?
Well, first of all, she's never fought in any of these battles, any of these cultural battles. In fact, she was a big promoter of DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, while she, in her House of Representatives position, she was an administrator at a college here in Louisiana, and she fought to actually grow DEI. Her voting record has been nothing close to what we would consider conservative. My voting record over 8 years in the House of Representatives, clearly very conservative. As I said, I was one of the founders of the House Freedom Caucus. And one of the big issues we have today is when it comes to this climate ideology, which President Trump declares is a scam, we have something in Louisiana called carbon capture and sequestration, which is dumping toxic carbon dioxide in the ground and paying these companies a large amount of money coming right out of our national debt, which is now $40 trillion. She's all for that. I'm totally opposed to it. I agree with President Trump on DEI. I agree with President Trump on these climate change ideologies, these Green New Deal scams, and Julia Letlow actually supports them.
So how did she end up getting the president's endorsement?
Really early on, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, Jeff Landry, who is now our governor, worked very hard with his cronies in Washington that are sort of satellites in the Trump campaign. And they worked to get that endorsement for her. President Trump does hundreds of endorsements, and he relies on other people to vet them. And I was totally blocked from making contact with him until the endorsement was done. Then he found out about me, reached out to me. We had a great conversation. I reminded him who I was. I had been his deputy chief of staff in the first administration for 10 months. And he said, "Well, look, you're fantastic." He says, "Why didn't you call me?" And I said, "Sir, I attempted a number of times, and people around you blocked me at every turn." And so again, that was an operation run by Jeff Landry, who for whatever personal reasons he has, wanted her to be the one to displace Cassidy. But she's not the prototypical MAGA, America First candidate, and really has a very thin resume otherwise. She's never passed a bill into law. She's never been on the forefront and taken the kind of risks that are necessary to show the courage you need in this arena of conservatism.
I'm wondering about Speaker Johnson, of course, Louisiana, his home state. Have y'all had any conversations?
We've spoken, and he's not endorsing either party. I was his predecessor. I actually helped him get elected behind me as I went to the Trump administration. And he's done a great job as our speaker, not necessarily voting as conservative as I might, but when you're speaker, you really have a lot of things you have to do in order to get bills through. Really, despite the endorsement settings and things like that, I think the people of Louisiana don't want to send another person like Senator Cornyn, who's there for 40 years and really just has milquetoast appetite when it comes to getting conservative causes through. And we have so many, like the SAVE Act is so important. We need that to maintain election integrity. But we've got to fight. We have to take risks in order to make that happen. And I look forward to working with President Trump and making that happen when I get there.
Looking back at the vote totals, clearly Letlow had a pretty significant percentage there, almost 45% of the vote. Then you coming in second place, and Bill Cassidy with barely almost 25% of the vote. What is it going to take to convince the voters? They see that Trump endorsement. Is there any rumblings that the president may look at endorsing someone else in the runoff, or is that just a done deal?
Well, I can't predict what the president might do or say. I certainly can't read his mind, and I do know that he can be flexible. He's switched endorsements. He's actually co-endorsed. So I don't know what he will do in this setting. He did make mention, one of his last statements before the primary election, that he was, of course, condemning Bill Cassidy, as he has many times. And he referred back to two great people in the race. Obviously, I would be one. And so I think he looks favorably on me and my campaign. And he understands that we're America first and would be a great ally of his. We did a poll right after the primary election, and it came out a dead heat. It's a tie according to our poll, and we think that we picked up a lot of voters who didn't necessarily vote in the first round.
I will say this. I was surprised when the president, came out and endorsed, only because I knew you from your years in Congress, of course, with the founding of the Freedom Caucus. And I mean, your conservative credentials are impeccable. So
Yes.
let's see how all this plays out. It's a shame that politics, politics on the state level is pretty dirty. It's pretty conniving at times.
Yes.
So let's just hope let's hope the president takes another look at all of this.
Yeah, thank you, Todd, for that. Because honestly, had I had an equal opportunity, I don't think there'd be any question that I would have the endorsement. But again, when you have politicians who are looking out for their own political interest and their own political future, and they're backed with a lot of what we call dark money that's in play, that of course Jeff Landry controls, you come out with some of these things. But I can just tell you, around the state, people are recognizing that I'm the prototypical America First candidate, not Julia Letlow. And I've, in fact, recently challenged her to 3 debates so we could bring all that out. And she refuses to debate me because
Oh, that's
she
a red
knows
flag.
she can't defend
That's
her record.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's a red flag, Dr. Fleming. If your opponent's not going to debate, I got big problems with that.
Yes. Yes.
All right, Dr. Fleming, we're going to have to leave it there. But again, I want to give out the website here, FlemingSenateCampaign.com. That's FlemingSenateCampaign.com, and you'll be able to find all you need to know about Dr. Fleming and his platforms and his positions. Dr. Fleming, we wish you the very best in the runoff. Good luck to you, sir.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Todd.